I have been bamboozled for like the past 3 days. You see, earlier this week, there was another YouTuber by the name of Error who made a video about stacking artifact mods. A fantastic find, and something of which I knew we had to go into before ever making any more build videos. Because the ability to stack these artifact mods changes the game in so many ways. Instead of just having that one ballistic combo chest piece mod, now we can rock 2. Now in some of these cases, it changes the game, but in other senses, it outright breaks it. We can throw on things like 2 breach refractors, 2 arc batteries, 2 thunder coils. No, not really. That's actually a 6 energy cost mod, which takes us to how in the hell we're actually doing this. Because yes, despite this being somewhat game breaking, there seems to be some rules in place. So in order to actually slap these artifact mods on together of the same type, you first want to slot the mod. So for instance, from the depths here, we slot it. We then go into our inventory and equip a class item without anything in its mod slots. And then we go back to the previous class item we were just on, and it is no longer grayed out, and we can slot the identical artifact mod here, thus resulting in us having the ability to double up on all of these artifact mods. For instance, ballistic combo here, which allows us to gain melee energy on final blows with shield piercing weapons. It's pretty decent when there's like just one, right? Like it's okay. Nothing super noticeable, but it helps. But with 2 of these stacked together, it exponentially jumps up, almost to the point where we have to sit back and question, is this really giving us 2 times the benefit or something more? This actually led us to looking at the artifact mod from the depths, as this actually allowed us to gain bonus void super damage if cast while critically wounded. So essentially, if you're in the red part of your health, you're critically wounded, and you pop your super, a status effect of From the Depths appears below to the bottom left end of your screen. Normally, it just says From the Depths, right? What's so interesting is that status buff actually reads out ×2 when we're rocking 2 of these artifact mods, which is very interesting. It almost makes me believe that this is something that Bungie will eventually let us do. And considering what was said in yesterday's TWAB, Bungie specifically came out and said that going forward, stacking mods of the same type will be possible. Now granted, they were referring to like loader mods or scavenger mods. They weren't talking about artifact mods, but the fact that the status buff here actually updates and gives us a ×2 here makes me believe that it's something that Bungie will probably allow us to do. Maybe not in this season, but in the next, without having to do like this weird switcheroo with our class items. Now, From the Depths, just looking at it by itself gives a 30% buff there to our super damage, which is extremely nice. Now, if you were to take that and apply From the Depths ×2, you would assume that it would just go up another 30% damage for a total of 60%, but it actually doesn't. No, it actually goes up 69%, which I find to be very interesting, that it wasn't just a flat increase, which also made us question whether or not we're getting more than just double the increase in benefits when we stack these mods. And it's kind of hard to tell, especially with mods like Breach Refractor or Ballistic Combo. These things grant us melee and grenade energy on final blow kills with shield piercing weapons. Just know that the benefits were visually noticeable when stacking these artifact mods. Now, another mod that seems to stack together is also Unstoppable Melee. I think Error did a test on this. Essentially, the stagger duration on Unstoppable Champions seemed to double when stacking this mod together. Now, Overload Grenades and Disruptor Spike, I don't believe you can actually stack these artifact mods because Overload Grenades cause disruption, but you use Disruptor Spike to increase the effects of disruption. But on your chest armor piece, which is where both of these mods get slotted, there's only 2 slots where you can apply these mods. So it's not like you can go 1 Overload Grenade mod and then stack it with 2 Disruptor Spike mods. That would be amazing, but we can't do that. And I don't believe if you stack Overload Grenade mods together, the benefits that you receive from that probably wouldn't outweigh a single Overload Grenade mod and just something like Disruptor Spike with it, and it costs 1 less. Now, the other thing that we did test was Arc Battery, as that gives you an overshield during your activation for Arc class abilities. As far as the overshield itself, it does not appear to increase the amount of overshield you receive. We tested this with Nova Warp, you can actually survive a fully charged Nova Warp charge when casting your class ability, but both times, whether I was rocking 2 arc batteries or 1, it took off the same amount of health. Outside of that, guys, you really can't double stack any of these other mods. You can't double stack Thunder Coil because that costs 6. We have a max of 10 on our class item and all of our other armor pieces. You can't double stack Oppressive Darkness, so it's not like we can go double the debuff there. And of course, you can't double stack things like Heavy Finisher, which actually would have been funny, considering if we could have stacked that, it might have ate your entire super, but gave you like double the heavy. Either way it goes, guys, that is double stacking artifact mods currently in Armor 2.0. Is this going to be something that's going to be removed? I don't know. The math here, in terms of the cost of the mods themselves, the updated status buff with From the Depths ×2, the change in percentage going from 30% to 69%, all of these things seem way too specific to just be some glitch that we're exploiting. This seems like something that Bungie was considering allowing us to do, but right at the last second held it off for a season. Similar to the loader mods and scavenger mods they talked about in yesterday's TWAB, and the reasoning for why they held off on allowing us to stack those mods. What was interesting about what Bungie said though when talking about stacking mods, such as like a hand cannon loader mod, was that you would actually gain diminishing returns. So 2 hand cannon loader mods together would only give you 1.5 times the benefit. So maybe something like stacking artifact mods will be a thing that they allow us to do, but they will also run into a scenario where we get diminishing returns. Either way it goes, guys, this changes our builds going forward. This is something that I had to educate myself these past few days in understanding and how it changes Armor 2.0 when it comes to these builds. So going forward, at least for the time being, when we go over builds, we will be including things like double artifact mods. I'll probably just give you like a base build, be like, hey, this is like basic Juju on that beak, and then this is Juju on that beak with double the mods. You know what I'm saying? Something along those lines is how we're going to start presenting some of these builds. That way, in case it does get nerfed, you'll still be able to use the base build, right? But if Bungie turns around and allows us to double up on these artifact mods, we'll be set. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this, guys. We've got a couple builds in mind in terms of its increases in damage, especially when we talk about From the Depths mod. I will say, for those that are interested in double stacking that artifact mod, it appears to work with every Void subclass except one, and that is Bottom Tree Night Stalker. For some reason, and maybe even Top Tree Night Stalker, but Bottom Tree Night Stalker caps out at that plus 30% damage despite having From the Depths ×2, which is a huge bummer. But that was the only subclass that I ran into problems with in regards to double stacking From the Depths. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.